Hey guys, what's up? I know. Before you even say it, I know I've been MIA and I apologize, y'all. Last week I had finals and it took me out. That's all I can say about that. It took me out and dragged me down the street with it. So, but nevertheless, I am back with the final recap and review for the season finale of The Kings of Napa. This is season 1, episode 8, I believe. Judas and the Black Vineyard, I think it's what it's called. How rude of me. I'm still Janice or Barb, whatever you prefer to call me. Just do not call me Janice or Barbara. And today's candle of the day is going to be Mahogany Teakwood. Old Reliable right here. By Bath and Body Works. So honestly, y'all, I'm about to say reunion. This finale, it was like, okay, like it wasn't bad. Like I definitely got all of my questions answered, but like, I don't know. Like I just wasn't really, I don't know. It wasn't bad, but I guess I was underwhelmed by who the extortionist actually turned out to be. But anyway, I'm not going to make this super long. Let's get right into it. August and Kelvin, when she walks into work, he's already in there. And we know from previously, they kind of ended things not on a good note because his wife came in and all that stuff, happened the night prior. So he comes in and she is fuming like, why are you here? Get out. Who let you in? Yada, yada, yada. And he's just like, listen, I'm falling for you again, but I'm, also at the same time going through a ridiculously crazy custody battle. So they kind of fall out for like literally 30 seconds and then all is well. They good. Rose is back. So of course her and Dana, they talk and all is well with them, or so we shall see. And fast forward from there, August is having some lunch. I don't know if she's Melanie's actual nurse, but one of the nurses down at the hospital, I believe. She has been checking on Melanie. She lets August know that. August is appreciative of that, but at the same time, we find out that Bridget has asked her to be a character witness for her for the case, and she says yes. August is pissed. She's not, backing down, and she's coming from a place of like the family business, this, that, and the other thing. And I forget what the nurse's name is, but she's just like, since when is it, F the family more than it is the business? Like, when are you more about the business than you are about caring for one another? So I don't know, we'll see. Rose, of course, next scene, she pulls up on Bridget. She shares her feelings, and at the same time though, she's defending Dana because I guess she just figured out what she wanted for her marriage while she was in New York. And Bridget, she's just like, she's over it. She's a woman on a mission at this point, as we know. So she chucks up the deuces and for a minute there, I'm sure you guys peeped it. They almost like touched her ever, and there's still a connection there. They're messing with dynamite when it comes to the things that are between them. So Bridget leaves so she can go down to Kelvin's office, and we see them prepping for the case. He's like doing some like cross-examination practice, whatever, with her, and she's just like, I don't know. I was kind of nervous for her, the way she was answering his questions. I'm like, oh gosh, maybe she don't need to get up on the stand. Like, because a lot of times people will be thinking it's going to help their case if they get up on the stand, and it winds up just like only messing it up even more. So I don't know. But she steps out and she says, I gotta make a call real quick. So she steps out, and of course it's like, okay, here we go. She acting sketchy again. So we'll see what comes of that. Back at the house. It is August, Yvette, and Grace. They're tasting the new, updated, tweaked dessert wine, you know, because after they had the wine connoisseurs and, you know, they had that little event or whatever with everyone, and they said that their wine was tasting like Sean and Sean's, but not as good. Grace went back in the lab and fine-tuned some things, and it apparently worked out for the best. They say that, you know, it's good, but not even 10 seconds later, the extortionist calls, and he basically said things can get much worse. Like, he's not happy with the state of what she's been doing and how they're trying to, you know, out him and stop the payments and all that. And I'm just like, oh boy. And I guess it was just at this moment that this is the first time we've heard from the extortionist in like a couple episodes or a couple scenes or whatever. Like, a lot of events have occurred since the last time we heard from them. So I'm like, is this like to throw us off even more and make us think that it's been Bridget also? Like, I don't know. I was looking at timelines. But we also get Dana, August, and Quincy. They're speaking with a lawyer on the phone or whatever. And at this time, Quincy also shows all of his evidence he's been collecting or whatever. But nothing really major came from that scene. So anyway, we also see Vanessa. She is visiting her sister, and I think Christian was also there as well. And they have like a cute mother-son moment where he's basically like, I think, you know, you's a boss-ass woman, and I think you should get back out there and do your anchor woman thing and your journalism thing and all that. And it's just like, okay, like, I saw her, you know, I saw Vanessa's wheels turning. I saw her wheels turning. But he brings up Sheila as well. And before they could even get too much into that topic, Melanie, we hear a behind them. And I'm like, oh, shit. Melanie's up, y'all. Melanie woke up. Thank God. But it's just like, okay, so I see how they're trying to wrap up all the storylines in this last one, but it didn't seem rushed. That's one thing I will say. Even though I wasn't so like loving this final episode, I will say they did not rush the episode, because I hate that. I hate when they, you know, they try to wrap up too much stuff in one episode or whatever. Like, no, it was good. Back to Kelvin's office, August comes to see him. She tells him how they want her to wear a wire, so to, you know, get some more information about Bridget and about, you know, everything or whatever to help build their case. And she also informs him about the call, and he denies anything about a call or anything like that. But at the same time, then he's like, oh, light bulb goes off, and he's like, oh, Bridget, when she was here, she did actually step out for, you know, 5-10 minutes, whatever, to place a call, I guess. And they're like, see, like, again, just like we're like, see, like, she just makes herself look so horrible. And I get it. It's all in the writing. This is literally what it's supposed to do. But it's just like, girl, come on. Like, you be hanging your own self out here dry. Back at the hospital, Melanie and Vanessa, they have a moment and they agree to, you know, basically move on and, you know, let go of all of everything else they've been arguing about for an entire season. And this is concluded with Melanie saying, like, hey, like, Reggie loved you. Like, you know, I was just his friend, like, but he loved you. And she's like, but I think that was a sweet thing to say, just to kind of just close the lid on that chapter, if you will. And Melanie also asked for Bridget, of course. But circling back, August and Kelvin. He gets a call saying that the call came from the east or whatever, I guess. But, you know, Bridget was there in San Francisco. I don't exactly remember what the importance of that was, but I have it here in my notes, so I said it. But yeah, August and her brothers, they're just not budging. Meanwhile, Rose is on the phone with the doctor, and this is when things really start getting interesting for me. And I was just like, how low can you go, Dana? Like, for real though, how low can you be? I would have been down there at Kelvin's office as well. Like, hey, can you help me? Can you represent me for a divorce? Because that's what would have happened as soon as I would have, if I was Rose and got this news. So basically she's following up about the, fertility appointments and the, how he was trying to get his sperm count, and, they're trying to figure out this whole pregnancy and fertility thing. And basically, long story short, she finds out that even though they had his semen sample, there was no sperm found in that sample. And that can only mean one thing. Like, he's sterile, obviously, so that can only mean, like, either, yeah, he was born like that, or something happened along the way and she was not privy to that information. So she's just thrown off. She's like, what the, at that point. Back at the hospital, Bridget comes down to see Melanie, and Melanie asks who had a key to her house, and she says it was only August. So of course they call August and they're like, where's the key to Bridget's, they're trying to get to the bottom of things. So they're, where's the key that you have that goes to Bridget's house? And she's like tossing some things around her house or whatever. She's on her way out. She's like, I can't find it. Like, I don't know, whatever. And then at this exact moment, she closes the window. And if y'all remember, and I said it a couple episodes prior when this whole thing happened, when she was like dreaming or whatever on the couch, and I'm just like, the window, and then the window was still open. That was not her dreaming. That really happened. The extortionist really came, rolled up inside her house via that window, and she is just now closing it. And I was like, girl, okay. August is at dinner. She's waiting for Kelvin. She gets a text message saying that he's stuck in the office. He won't be ready for like another hour or so, whatever. He'll meet her at the house after, whatever. And she's like, okay, whatever. But that guy from the restaurant, he was there, and it was just them two. He sent all of his staff home, and I'm just like, this is when it gets interesting. This is when it gets interesting. He's being real friendly, and I'm just like, what is your MO? What are you after? You're after something. I'm not stupid. But August, she goes to the bathroom, and while she's going to the bathroom, because he's like, oh, just stay. She tries to leave, and he's like, oh, just have some pie. You love my grandma's pie. Have some pie. Like, weird. Okay, fine. And it's only them. She goes to the bathroom. She sees the back door open. So she goes out there and she sees a car, and she sees a car with his name. He has this little key tag thing. It's the same car as in the picture, one. And then she also sees his ID. So she knows it's his car. And it's just like, it all just starts to match up in her head at that moment. And he comes out like, oh, you must be really interested in my car or whatever. And we're just like, oh boy, August, get out of there. Like, at this moment, we were all, I think, like, girl, leave. But obviously she didn't want to, blow her cover. Like, she knew at this moment it could be like a potentially dangerous situation probably. So she was trying to, just get out there quietly. But he wasn't letting go, of course. So she continues to try to leave. However, he's super persistent, not letting her go. Meanwhile, we get this stupid scene with Sheila and Christian all booed up, whatever. She's bigging his head up and trying to meet his mom so bad, and just being also really persistent, just wanting to be down. I'm just like, but anyway, that was real quick. Back to the restaurant. August is eating a pie, and she's like trying to call Kelvin on the low or whatever. And the dude, what is his name? He low-key picks up on this and about the photo of the car and everything. And he proceeds to like, just let it go. Like, everything is him. I would just say it right now. He's been extorting them. He's the extortionist. And it was all based off the fact that back in the day, his dad or grandfather sold the land to Reggie, and then apparently he was supposed to sell it back or something. But it was all done in poor taste, because the whole thing was based off the fact that his grandfather, whoever, dad, whoever it was, sold it to Reggie in the first place because he thought he was just some, you know, broke black man who didn't have nothing, whatever. Like, okay, fine, assume what you want about me, and then you're gonna be the ones that I'm gonna be the one laughing in the end. And that's just what August basically told him, like, sorry, not sorry, like, whatever. But she tries to get up and they tussle for a minute. He like attacks her or whatever, falls to the ground. She's knocked out. I'm like, oh, God dang. So she's knocked out. And before we can even wrap that whole thing up and see what happens with her, we finally see Rose and Dana. They're getting haircuts, which I thought was kind of cute. But I'm like, no, screw you, Dana, still. It's still Dana at this point. And she goes off. She shares the news about earlier, and he's like, you know what? He didn't even deny it as much as he was like, yeah, I did it. I got fixed 2 years ago because I didn't want to have kids. That basically it was him only further letting us know that, you know, about his insecurities and, you know, his he's just ain't shit, man. He is not shit. And he's just like, I don't want to have kids. And Rose, of course, she gets emotional. And it was, I felt really bad for her in that moment, even though it's just like fictional. I felt really bad because, you know, she went through all this IVF and all this, and she goes to leave after, you know, just basically telling him he ain't worth a damn. And he decides to bring up Bridget, and she's like, oh, hell no. So she turns around, calls him out some more about some stuff, and he also follows everything up with saying like, okay, if you leave, like, that, there goes your job or whatever, because that was a part of the rules or whatever. And I was just like, fuck that. That just only showed where his head is at. Like, that's literally all he ever cares about. And it's sad. He just lost probably the best thing that anything's ever happened to him, which is his own fault. Anyway, back to August. She finally comes to. She realizes she's tied up, and this is, I kind of jumped ahead last time, but this is when she spills everything, and he says how he cloned the phone and everything about the whole family and the land and stuff like that. That's when he says that. Basically, he's mad at the world. He's mad at the world, and he seemed like he's a racist. And at one point, he clearly wanted to say the N-word, and she was like, say it, say it, say it. Well, he didn't. She's not piping down. And she's like low-key behind her back trying to like saw through the rope or whatever with her bracelets or whatever, her jewelry. And she finally gets it off of her and makes a dash for it or whatever, and he's right on her heels. But thank God, before anything can happen, the SWAT comes in and they get him, and Kelvin's also in tow or whatever. And I was just like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. But oh, thank God. So there's that whole thing. And Kelvin and August afterwards, they're talking, and she's just like super remorseful about how she treated Bridget and about how the whole thing happened and everything. And I'm just like, well, that's just, you wanted to not believe the girl, so that's what you get, but whatever. So that's the end of the extortionist whole thing. And from there on, fast forward, everyone's tasting the new blend and everything is everything. Bridget walks in and everyone's kind of like, oh, like they seen a ghost. And she's like, my father wanted me here, so I'm staying. Like, the fuck. And I'm just like, you go, girl. Don't let them, you know, ice you out. And she lets her intentions be known. She wants to be vice president. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even mad at it. I'm not even mad at it. And they better oblige her, because that, I don't know. Even though you found out that it's him, if I was Bridget, I try not to hold grudges in my heart, but I would have held out of one if I was her. Just saying. Just saying. And she wants a raise. She wants a 20% raise. And she's like, you know what? You guys are, you know, we want to keep you know, boosting the business up, she proposes a new product based off of her hybrid grapes or whatever in the back of your vineyard or whatever, and everyone's on board, and I'm like, okay, thank God, thank God. And the next thing we seen, everyone is watching Jason and Yvette, or Jason and another connoisseur that was at that event or whatever, taste the wine, and they're like, you know what, this is amazing, we're back in the fold. Sean and Sean, they're in the dust, which I'm like, oh, thank God. So everything is coming back together. And back to Christian and Sheila, and I said, I was like, she is not worth shit. Christian, leave her alone. I'm telling you, leave her alone, leave her alone, leave her alone. No one wanted to listen to me. But they're down in some lounge or whatever, and he's getting some potential investors to taste his bourbon, and they're like, this is good, we're down, we're behind you. And she's like, oh my God, I'm your good luck charm, like, yes. And we see him finally, like, you know, boosting her up to another category, you know, in his life, and how he's going to keep her around or whatever. And I'm just like, please don't. Please don't. Like, I just knew something was up. I just knew something was up. And before I could even close that thought, we see them laid up or whatever back at home, and her phone rings, and we find out that, I don't remember what the text message said, but we find out that those were her cousins, and they're about to drain Christian and probably the whole damn family for everything they got. Naive, but anyway, Bridget's down with Melanie. She steps out of the room, and we see the same old white man that she was meeting up with in alleys and stuff. And I'm like, who is this? Apparently he's her gallerist, whatever. And she's like, you know what? You're fired because you didn't even see it for me. Like, he was trying to come back, you know, into her good graces, and he's like, oh, I see that it wasn't you. I knew it wasn't you. No, you didn't. You tried to sell me up the river just like everybody else did. And I'm glad she fired him. Moving on. At the same time, August walks up to her, and she tries to tell her the good news, and she apologizes and everything. And Bridget's, she's, you know, she's like, you know what? It's strictly business between us. And she's done with the antics, and I can't even, like, can we honestly blame her? Because I can't. Like, they wanted to ice her out and just literally just take everything from this woman, and she's not going to be so easily to forgive. Or she has forgiven, but she's not forgetting. And I don't really blame her. August's like, what happened to us? And she was just like, you know, it was you being you. But so she walks off. And we also have this short scene where Jason proposes to Yvette and blah, blah, blah. Quote for them. Rose goes over to Bridget's, and she's on a warpath. She says that I know all of their dirt, and she's ready to let it ring. And I'm like, I can't be mad at that. She said how when she was gone, no one reached out to her. And I was kind of like, but wait, Christian we did have a scene where he called you. Did anybody else peep that? I was kind of like, but wait. Okay, whatever. Go off, sis. Go off. And the final scene we get, there's a new neighbor that moved in. This good-looking black man walks in, and he walks up to Vanessa, and he's like, I want to buy your vineyard. And she's like, it's not for sale. What the? Huh? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I see Vanessa's wheels turning, and she's like, oh boy. As he walks away, she's like, oh, Dana, oh God. Like, so I guess we're going to hopefully get another season. And that's probably going to be what the storyline is going to be after that. And he also was like, kisses her hand or whatever. And he's like, I'd love to taste your wine. And I'm just like, ooh. Okay, let me find out. But whatever. And the final scene we see, just like in my thumbnail, you see August. She is like back overlooking the vineyard, looking just like her daddy. And I'm just like, you know, this wasn't a bad season. I'm glad I got all of my questions answered, sorry. Even though, you know, I may have not liked the answers. It is what it is. It's not my show. But let me know what you guys thought of this season. Let me know what you think of my recap and review. And without further ado, y'all, I'm going to be out, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.